Facilitation. What does it mean? And what does a facilitator do? These are questions I get asked all the time, so I thought it would be helpful to make a short video about it. Subscribers to my channel will know that I love the etymology or origin of words. A very good friend and facilitator from Peru asked me, what is the word for easy in Spanish? Ah, it's fácil. The definition of a facilitator in the English dictionary is to make a process easier or possible. Welcome to the Space to Thrive, where I share tips and techniques to build a more collaborative culture. My name is Ed Moss, and I'm your collaboration coach and facilitator. So what kind of facilitators are there in the world? Well, there are many. I mean, for example, a movie director could be described as a facilitator of storytelling. They make it easier and possible for us to see visual stories. Maybe a doctor might be a health facilitator or someone that helps you to get better. For me, as a facilitator, I go into companies like multi-billion-pound Co-op Group and Nike and help people through certain processes. For example, decision-making, unlocking creativity, problem-solving, relationship building and connection, and also with their health and well-being. So why do companies engage a facilitator like me? Well, the principal reason is that the team have recognized that they have got stuck with something. So perhaps they've got stuck with around a project, or stuck in terms of their relationship or team dynamic, or perhaps they've got a stuck that they're holding around how they're going to improve their well-being. There are a few things that contribute to this kind of stuckness. One is often to do with thinking. So the group have kind of tried to solve the problem in many ways before and have ended up getting stuck in the same thinking. Another area that people get stuck in is around the group dynamics, which is often to do with power. One of the common stucks is around power and dynamics. So for example, between the board and the C-suite or executive team, and then between the executive team and the managers, and then also between the managers and the frontline workers or staff. And so the purpose of facilitation is to create a process to free up any of those stucks and help the people in the teams move back into motion. Because of course, when things are in motion, things are progressing. Facilitators are also brought in as someone impartial, and it's really important here to be careful to differentiate between impartiality and being a kind of other voice in the room. For example, what we're looking for in facilitation is someone that is going to guide the process, not someone that's going to speak on behalf of the hippo, the highest paid person's opinion, or offer some kind of diversity point of view. Remember, it's all about the group working through a challenge that they're going through. If I come in as a facilitator and just provide the answer, as soon as I leave, then it's really difficult for that group to carry on because they don't have that knowledge or experience within the room. Another reason that companies and people choose to work with me is because of my understanding about how people work. I have a very solid theory of how people function and how people work. And a lot of that is based around our nervous system and using our whole bodies as part of these processes. The advantage here is that we really focus on creating an inclusive environment, and one that is inclusive of people no matter where their stories have been. This is great for cross-working in different departments and also getting, say, customers or clients involved in collaborating with people within the team. I also have a strong theory of process, so understanding how to get groups of different people working together, as well as a number of techniques to make these activities interesting and enjoyable for people so that they can bring out their very best ideas. Finally, there's an authentic way of being. I show up and I am myself, and clients really, really value this. So as people are working as facilitators or starting out on their journey, I'm often looking for these factors in people. What is your theory or understanding of how people work? What is your theory of process? How do you kind of go about doing things? And finally, how developed is your sense of authentic self when you're in a room and with a group of people? So what does facilitation look like in companies? Well, it might involve helping to launch a new product or a service, an organizational strategy, resolving conflict, developing a culture of collaboration and teamwork more broadly. Sometimes a facilitation might just be a one-off session. Other times it might extend over 18 months to 2 years, if not longer, possibly including running some retreats, taking small groups of people away, inviting groups of people to actually go and visit different parts of the business and helping people to understand what it is they're learning and what it is emerging. Facilitators also could include managers, leaders, CEOs, content creators, coaches, trainers. The list kind of goes on. So I'm kind of curious, what kind of facilitator are you and what are you facilitating? Tell me below in the comments. In terms of a process, it doesn't matter whether you're an external facilitator like myself or whether you're doing this internally. There are kind of 4 key elements to facilitation. First stage is coming up with a brief. And this is really, really important because it provides you a theory of what it is that you would like to achieve or the client would like to achieve from having a meeting or a workshop or going through this process. And it allows you to start thinking about what might be the appropriate approaches for doing that, what length of engagement might need to be involved. The second stage is the design stage. And at this stage, we're kind of actively experimenting with different ideas, drawing on that knowledge and theory of how people work and how processes work and our own experience. We're then trying to come up with a series of activities in a logical and sequential order that allow people to really actively learn and go through the process. We want to include all 4 types of the experiential learning cycle, which I have run into in another video, so that we're including people no matter where they are on the perception continuum, from perhaps activist through to the theorist, and also including people on the processing continuum, whether they are more reflectors or whether they're more pragmatists. That way you're confident that you're designing a session that allows everybody to contribute fully and the whole team to take forward whatever is created in that session and commit to it. The way I combine that theory of people, that theory of process, and the authentic way of being is through thinking about the kind of recipes that I create with my clients. The first area I am often drawn to is around data and evidence. Often one of the things that happens in unstructured meetings is that people make extraordinary claims without making extraordinary evidence. So in the processes that I work with, I encourage people to look for that data. Another core ingredient in my recipes with clients is making sure things are visceral and also tactile. What do I mean by this? Visceral is all about getting a sense of this deep feeling inside of us, and using tactile activities. I often will take along Play-Doh and Lego and pens and pencils so that people can start to get what's going on in here out onto their hands, so that then there can be more discussion and exploration. This is actually really well backed in psychological theory and also in therapeutic practices. Final core ingredient in all of my recipes is this idea of creating safety, or rather creating a brave space. What do people need? What do people's minds and bodies need in total in order to feel safe enough to say what's really on their mind, to fully express themselves and contribute in a meaningful way? A lot of my processes also involve the use of movement and also stillness in order to get our bodies into those creative and useful spaces. Fourth stage is about delivery. And this is where you're delivering your workshop, your meeting, your processes. And at this stage, it really is all about the experience. You're surrendering to the group, knowing that you don't know and you can't control what's going to happen, and that you have the knowledge and security of your design to work with. At this stage, it's all about growing our ability. And as a facilitator, I'm interested in a few different types of ability. One is our response ability, and growing my ability to respond to different groups. Another type of ability is accountability. Accountabilities, for me, is all to do with making sure that the outcomes that the group or that the client have asked for are worked towards and made progress on. Another ability that's particularly helpful is our flexibility. Technically it's an I, but our flexibility allows us to go with the flow and roll with whatever the group decide they want or need to work on. So all the time we're constantly referring back to our design and our brief, identifying tensions. Sometimes those might be positive, such as, hey, we're inspired by this, we want to go in that direction. And sometimes they might be more challenging, such as that you discover that there's actually a power dynamic that could do with some resolution so that the team can be freed up to move on. Whatever it is, the flexibility to identify these tensions and work through them is part of the core reason that being a facilitator is such a rewarding job and is so valuable to companies. And the fourth stage is about evaluation. and that is actually to look at what has been valued, what was valued in the session. And this can be really helpful because, for example, if we have a session that's all about decision making, it's common that the value is placed on whether a decision has been made. If the session was more focused on relationship building, we want to focus more inquiring about how people's relationships with each other are after the session. So there's a rundown on facilitation and what it is to be a facilitator from my perspective. But I'm interested, what is your experience and what is your perspective? Please leave your comments below. Subscribe to my channel for more tips, techniques, and activity guides to help you run better meetings and workshops. And then click that little bell icon so that you're notified whenever a new video is released. If you want to end meeting misery, why not check out the video that's on screen at the moment and find out how to design the worst possible meeting and a few starting points on how you can turn that around. So for now, thanks for watching. Please do enjoy other videos on my channel, and I look forward to working in a more collaborative world.